Hey, what is up, Mellow Mage here, bringing another gameplay commentary. This is a TDM on Thrashball. I got this with my buddy Kamikaze14. You know, I want to go ahead and continue, you know, where I left off. I think in my the previous one, but it was the one before that. What's killing Judgement? And I was talking with a friend the other day from the Epic Game forums that I knew, Vic818. So big shout out to him. But he gave me this idea. We were talking about, you know, things, you know, you kind of wish, you know, that were done differently, and in Judgement, you know, what could have made it a little bit better, and, you know, you kind of wish, you know, Epic had done this, or you hope they changed this and that, you know, and they, you know, they deal with certain balance issues. And, I can't remember if it was him or me that brought this up, but it was a good point regardless. We were talking about how you don't see too many companies or video game developers. They don't take too many chances when they make games. Nobody's afraid to take everybody's afraid to take a risk. They don't want to. They want to go with that sure bet. They want to go with what they think will make them money, appease their shareholders, whatever, and they just, you know, get that money in the bank. You know, they just want to go with the easy fix, that what will sell. And it made me think back to around 2006 when I first got an Xbox 360 and I first got Gears 1. And it made me, you know, think back to why I got Gears 1. I liked it because of how unique it was. You know, at this time, you know, I remember watching X-Play, and I think it was on G4 TV is where it was on. But I remember watching that show, and whoever it was that was about to review it, you could hear them sigh right before they do it. Right before they introduced the game, and they're like, not this shit again. And you could almost sympathize with them a little bit, because you wondered the same thing they were thinking. How many times can Call of Duty or Medal of Honor, you know, how many World War II first-person shooter games could they make? You know, you sat there and you said, another first-person shooter game. You knew that was what they were thinking. And part of it was, you know, even as, you know, someone played games, you sat there and you wondered, how many times can they actually do Point du Hoc? How many times could they do the Normandy beach invasion? How many times could they do Stalingrad? You know, it was the same thing almost all the time. You know, they were going to touch on Normandy or D-Day, you know, that kind of thing. And it was just, it was getting stale, you know. You kind of understood why they were getting a little bored of reviewing the same old game, or at least something similar to it. And around that time, you know, eventually, you know, Modern Warfare came out, Call of Duty 4, and, you know, it changed up everything. You know, eventually, I think Medal of Honor started doing modern, you know, everything in the modern setting. You started seeing more modern games, or modern set games, you know, for first-person shooters. And it made me think back, you know, to what made Gears so unique. And the Gears trilogy, Gears 1 through 3, has always held a certain niche that has made it differently. I mean, you look at Halo, you look at any Call of Duty video, you know, I mean, for me, they all look the same. And I just ain't a fan of first-person shooters. And I know some people genuinely like them. That's their opinion. I'm not going to hate on them for it, but I just don't care for first-person shooters. They never really have done anything for me, mainly because they all look the same. And, you know, when you look at any Halo or Call of Duty video, you know, you might see on your screen, you know, a target reticle in the center, or, you know, your guy's holding the gun, and even the controls might be very similar. I don't know. I don't play Call of Duty or Halo enough to say, but, you know, they all look similar enough to me, and they don't have that unique value to them that Gears 3 had. And that's partly why, you know, everybody, you know, started moving away from that whole World War II setting. Medal of Honor and Call of Duty did. Halo, you know, it had its thing, you know, because you were fighting aliens, but, you know, I mean, Gears of War, or I'm sorry, Call of Duty and Medal of Honor, you got bored of just shooting at the fucking Nazis or the Japanese. You know, you wanted to see something differently, and that was why, you know, when Modern Warfare 4 came out, you know, you were shooting at something different for once. And, of course, the weapons were much different. You had more options. Gears of War, I think, you know, why I liked it, why I got into it, my friend, I don't talk to him much, but you know, he did a commentary recently, and he articulated it better than I ever could, I think, in what was Killing Judgment video. He articulated it way better than I did. He did in his commentary, Bless Pillage. He was talking about the simplicity of Gears 1. And, you know, I really didn't think about it, but, I mean, that was really what really got me to fall in love with Gears 3. You know, you didn't have a metric shit ton of weapons all over the map. You didn't. It was, you know, you started with a rifle, very few rifles. You know, you had your hammer, burst, retro lancer, and a lancer. And of course, you know, you had your shotgun, your choose, and Nash, or assault off. But it was a very simple setup. And you didn't have all kinds of power weapons all over the map. You may have a certain set, but that was it. And the maps, of course, were designed a certain way. But that was the unique trait for Gears. And of course, you know, it was unique in the sense that it wasn't trying to deal with real-world events like the World War II first-person shooters. It wasn't, you know, trying to come up with, you know, fighting, you know, some kind of, you know, theoretical enemy like you see in the modern warfare games. You know, I mean, you know, that's stuff you heard about in those games. That's something you hear about ultranationalists, that shit. Or maybe you don't hear about cities getting fucking nuked, you know, like you do in Call of Duty. But you get where I'm going at here. Gears of War was unique. It was on a different planet. It was, you know, you had humanity fighting against these subterranean monsters, and it played differently. It was a third-person shooter. It had a cover system. And what hurt Judgment, I feel, another thing that hurt him, and like I said, this is the last video I'll do, you know, in regards to what hurt Judgment. At least I hope I do. But anyways, what I felt, another thing I felt that hurt Judgment was people were used to what they had in that Gears trilogy. They were expecting that certain Gears, you know, feel to it. And, you know, I mean, that was the niche that Gears of War was in. And when Epic took their chance, and they did take a chance here, they moved away from what made Gears unique, and they made it, they generic. They made it generic. They made it generic-fied, I guess. Oh, God, here I am making up words. But they generic-fied it, basically. They took away some of the unique things that made a Gears of War game what it was. And it was a game that, for the most part, you know, I feel like when I play Gears 3, usually the most skilled player wins. I don't see that a whole lot in Judgment. I have moments where I sit there and say, of course you had to melee me, or of course you had to go run to a power weapon. You know, that happens in Gears 3, but not as much. Alright, this gameplay's coming to an end. Alright, guys, I'll catch you later. Peace out. Sorry if I rambled any, but that's just how I talk. Anyways, guys, catch you later. LILMikeeh, signing off. Peace!